States continue to grapple with the evolving challenges and threats of terrorism. The return of foreign terrorist fighters, or FTFs, from conflict zones to their countries of origin or nationality, their travel to a third country, sometimes accompanied by family members, and the further radicalization of incarcerated individuals to violence in prisons and upon release can pose a significant threat to society. In order to address the threat posed by terrorism, states may adopt a range of preventative measures, including administrative measures against individuals and entities who are considered to pose a risk to national security. In the context of counterterrorism, administrative measures are coercive measures that, in accordance with the rule of law, may lawfully restrict the exercise of certain human rights, such as, for example, the freedom of movement. Only when administrative measures are applied in a human rights compliant manner can they be a legitimate tool to deal with risks to national security resulting from a terrorist threat. Human rights and national security should not be mutually exclusive, but mutually reinforcing. To offer guidance to policymakers, law enforcement officials, and other relevant stakeholders on the design, implementation, and monitoring of administrative measures, the Global Counterterrorism Forum, GCTF, has developed the Glion Recommendations on the use of rule of law-based administrative measures in a counterterrorism context. In order to determine whether administrative measures could be imposed, the relevant authorities need to assess whether the terrorist-related activity poses a threat to national security, including through human rights-compliant gathering and sharing of intelligence information. States are encouraged to develop and use individual, fact-based risk assessment tools without resorting to profiling based on any discriminatory grounds prohibited by international law. In order to ensure that the use of administrative measures is conducted in compliance with international human rights obligations and within a rule of law framework, each specific administrative measure imposed to address a threat to national security should be prescribed by law in a clear and predictable manner and be assessed in light of the totality of circumstances. Each specific measure should respect the criteria of necessity, adequacy, and proportionality, serve a legitimate aim, and be applied in a manner respectful of the principle of non-discrimination. States must put in place appropriate procedural safeguards, also referred to as procedural fairness, to ensure respect for the right to challenge a decision and the right to an effective remedy. Next, when imposing administrative measures, states should consider both the direct and indirect impact an administrative measure has on the individual, his/her family, the community and society, and the gender-specific implications of the measure. As administrative measures may affect the rights of the child, the welfare and rights of the child should be safeguarded at all times and take priority when weighing up interests. In the situation that administrative measures concern children, states should consider the best interests of the child in accordance with their international legal obligations. Some administrative measures can also have an impact on the right to be free from unlawful or arbitrary interference with privacy and family, and on the exercise of economic, social, or cultural rights, such as the ability to work, access to health, or education. States should also be cognizant of the gender-specific implications an administrative measure can have. Administrative measures may be imposed simultaneously, consecutively, or partially overlapping with criminal measures, with social, educational, and therapeutic measures, or with rehabilitation and reintegration measures. The interplay with such measures should also be taken into consideration when determining the impact of administrative measures. The cumulative impact of the sum of administrative measures applied can go beyond what is justified in light of the impact assessment of the totality of the circumstances, which should be based on the criteria of necessity, adequacy, and proportionality. The risk of a domino effect should be avoided, because such accumulated impact could also become counterproductive. If you wish to learn more, the full text of the GCTF Glion Recommendations on the use of rule of law-based administrative measures in a counterterrorism context is available at www.thegctf.org.